My body heaved against my will. I doubled over and released the vile, sticky liquid that coated my mouth. I sucked in a gasp of air and coughed again, the air burning my throat as I breathed in. The sweet sting of the alcohol slick like cough syrup, and more bitter than any medicine. Little droplets of the drink hit the floor under me, and I could only think to say one thing.
"That's gross, Dad,"
I said as I wiped my mouth. My mom looked like she couldn't breathe because she was laughing so hard in her chair. I was only 12 years old at the time. My dad had given me a sip of his special bottle he kept on the top shelf of his bar. He gave me a hearty chuckle and passed me a napkin to clean up my mess. As I was standing back up, I remember him saying,
"I agree. Nastiest thing I ever tasted." "What is that?"
I asked, taking a big gulp of my soda before ducking under the dinner table to clean up. "It's called Fernet Branca. Was made over in Italy, though I hear they enjoy it more in Argentina, mixed with cola."
"You ever tried it?"
I popped back up in my chair, setting the dirty napkin onto my empty plate. "No, I never planned to," he said, taking another tiny sip of his glass and making a sour face.
"Why? Isn't it bad?"
"Well, first, James," he said, wiping his mouth. "Just because you don't like something doesn't mean it's bad. Plenty of people love the stuff. We're just not one of them. Second," he looked over at my mom, who was gathering her composure. She gave him a small smile and began to clear our plates. "And second, James," he continued, "is my father could drink a whole bottle of this stuff, no problem. But he didn't like it any more than you or I did. No, he just liked what comes after you drink it."
"What comes after?"
I asked, as if Fernet was some kind of magical potion.
"You get drunk, boy.
It's alcohol, just like any other. Makes you feel all silly-like." My brow furrowed, and he sighed gently at my confusion. He thought a lot about how he was going to phrase his next words. I sat patiently and waited for him to continue. "Being drunk is a bad thing, and don't let anyone else tell you otherwise. Now, sometimes it's okay to do bad things every once in a while, but the problem comes when the bad things become more you than the good ones." He raised his glass a little, as if to show it off. "I hate every sip of this. It's the worst drink I own, but it's also the most important. If I ever sip this and decide that it's worth drinking to get drunk, then I've already told your mother to pour every single bottle of that shelf down the drain. You understand me, son?" At the time, I nodded to him. It was a lie. My father was the biggest man I ever met, not in size, maybe, but in personality, attitude, and ambition. I wanted him to think I understood, that I knew how to listen. When I was 12 years old, everything he said to me was like the gold that would pave the road to my success. I'm 26 now. My father died yesterday, and I hadn't talked to him in months. I hadn't talked to anyone in my family in months. I had dozens of missed calls from both my mom and my dad. I also had a few dozen more texts, though I don't bother to open them. I just pulled down on the notification bar to read it without opening it. Texts like, "Your father doesn't have long left. He wants to talk to you." And, "Please come home," from my mom. My father's texts were less frequent, but every one of them felt like a dagger in my heart. "Your mother needs you. I hope you're okay. And I love you." She never said what he died from, and I never reached out to ask. One text from my dad stuck out to me more than the others. The last time we talked was when I got my new apartment. I asked him to help me cover rent. I told him I had a promising job I had just gotten, one that would allow me to get my GED in my free time. I told him I would keep better contact with him and Mom. I told him I was getting sober. I lied about all of it. He gave me the money on one condition, that I give him my new address. He even promised he would never drive over unannounced. He said it just made him feel safer knowing. The text read, "I'm having your mother send something to you. It's important." And sure enough, I heard a knock on my apartment door this morning. It was a package sent from an old home address. Before I even opened it, I already knew it would be a bottle of Fernet Branca. I placed it on the floor as gently as I could with shaking hands, tossing the bottle to the side. I rattled amongst the empty blue vodka bottles and knocked over a tower of beer cans I had built yesterday. I didn't have any alcohol left in the house. I didn't usually have leftovers anyway, but I did a thorough sweep just in case. When I got the text that my dad had finally passed yesterday, I made a promise to myself. 1 week without drinking. If I can make it 1 week, then I would reward myself by seeing my family again. I sat on the floor across from that bottle for a long time. I stared at it, mesmerized by every little detail. The dark green glass, the liquid black as tar inside, and the faux weathered paper print of the label. My father's words rattled in my head. He said my grandfather could drink a bottle of the stuff easy if it meant getting drunk. At the time, I hadn't truly understood why someone would consume something so nasty so they could feel silly. Now, it took every ounce of my being not to open it and chug the bottle. And even then, every ounce might not be enough. I couldn't understand why my father would send me this. He knew damn well that I was an alcoholic, and yet he thought it was a great idea to send me a fresh, unopened bottle of liquor. I closed my eyes, trying to ignore the dull pain behind them, and thought back on the first time I tried it. I remembered the Fernet's sticky texture and how it coated my mouth. The bittersweet flavor, similar to a foul-tasting cough syrup. It burned my throat as I breathed long after I spat it out. That burn was something I had come to appreciate so much now. One I could imagine so well and familiar. I could almost feel it. Almost. My imagination couldn't come close to the real thing. The thing sitting right in front of me. I opened my eyes, my vision still on the bottle. It was as if, even with my eyes closed, they could still sense its location. My eyes narrowed, pupils closing in on the stem between the cap and the ring underneath it. The thin connection points had severed, and the lingering taste of Fernet rang on my tongue. The bottle did not look as full as a fresh, store-bought bottle. And I sipped it. I didn't remember drinking it, and my hands still danced shakily atop my thighs as I sat with my legs crossed. Surely I hadn't, right? I would have drank more than a tiny sip, and my hands would be shaking less. But the bottle was open, and just a touch less than a full one would be. Or was I imagining it? I needed to hold it. I picked the bottle up, feeling its heft in my hands. Its weight felt heavier than any normal bottle, especially one that wasn't full. I brought it closer to my face to let my eyes close in on the fill line and judge it. But the smell, the medicinal, herbal smell, it clocked me in the jaw like a punch, and I had to slam the bottle on the floor, away from my face. My hand didn't leave the bottle. It lingered as if the bottle was a supple hip, as if I was going to pull it close and embrace it. I gave the bottle a gentle squeeze. The glass did not yield. I could imagine the taste of the liquor on my tongue, like honey, but that was all it was, my imagination. The bottle would not best me, but I had to at least check if I was right, if it was open. My hand slowly, sensually, slid up the neck of the bottle. My other hand supported it at the base. I grabbed the cap of the bottle and gave it a slow turn. The cap turned smoothly, with no audible crack of a seal. The bottle was open, but that didn't answer my burning question. Did my father send me an open bottle, or had I opened it myself? My addled mind unable to recollect. I promised myself I would make it 1 week without drinking. I wanted to see my family. I needed to see them. But as I was just a disappointment to them. An embarrassment. I was sure of it. If I had taken a sip of the bottle, then that week would start tomorrow, as opposed to today. Or would it have been from tomorrow anyway? I went to bed, drunk, last night. I told myself it was a sort of last hurrah for my dad. It was just an excuse to drink. I woke up sober, or at least more sober than I wanted to. But if I was drunk past midnight, then that means I was drunk on today's date. If I was drunk on today's date, then doesn't that really mean that my week of sobriety starts tomorrow anyway? The bottle was open. The bottle was in my hands. The bottle was on the floor between my legs. At least, I thought it was between my legs. Instead, I found myself drinking its nectar, the neck of the bottle pressed to my lips, hands pressed against the back of my head, pressuring me to suckle the teats of the bottle. I sucked the honey and felt it flow through my body like the ichor of the divine. I drank and I drank, feeling a dribble flow down the side of my cheek. I slammed the bottle down onto my fake wooden floors. The noise echoed through my tiny studio apartment. I didn't stop because I wanted to. I stopped because I thought I heard something. Someone speaking to me from seemingly nowhere.
You get drunk, boy. It's alcohol, just like any other.
I heard. He wasn't here, my father. I knew he wasn't, but that didn't make me hear it any less. I picked up the cap of the bottle, inspecting it thoroughly. The soft ridges at its base, the smooth texture of its top. I placed it on top of the bottle and screwed it back on, slowly. As I screwed, I could feel the liquid in the bottle slosh invitingly. Like a metronome, the liquid in the bottle moved back and forth. It captured me, invited me, danced for me. But I couldn't drink. I needed to see my mother. I needed to help her, to be there for her. How could I do that drunk? So, with great effort, I released my grip on the front of Fernet Branca. It was about a third of the way gone. Instead, I decided I would dip into my secret stash, a plastic bottle that used to hold water. I repurposed to hold vodka instead, tucked under the sink in my bathroom, behind my toothbrush. I crawled to it, to my bathroom, as if I was incapable of standing. I was capable, I just didn't want to. That's what I told myself. The water bottle had 16.9 ounces, about 500 milliliters of pure bliss, about 500 milliliters of my personal medicine. I drank the whole thing in one go, my hand at the base of the bottle, and gently pressed it closer and closer to my mouth. I felt the liquid burn through my body like acid, felt its tender caress as it tried to kill me. I coughed and I sputtered, my breath feeling so hot it was like I breathed fire. I flopped onto my back, my head against the tub and my feet past the door. The warmth of the vodka spread lower and lower, past my hips and thighs and into the very tips of my toes. It grabbed me by the ankles and held firm its grip. My body was dragged away with a jolt, my head smacking against the tiles. My body slid across the floor, my arms reaching out in a panic to grab anything they could hold on to. All they managed to touch was the empty plastic bottle, still lingering with a scent of venom. I tried to yell out in fear, but my voice was caught by a gnarled hand. It clawed its way up and out of my chest, fingers emerging from the back of my throat. Reaching past my teeth, it latched onto my cheeks and violently wrenched itself out of me. It thudded on the floor beside my head. My jaw locked open with its yellowed forearm. It dug its bloody nails into the floor and twisted my body around. It was rotating me. It made me face the bottle. The scent of bile coated the room in a thick layer of fast food French fries and iron. I think I was dying. Still, the liquid in the bottle moved. Still, it danced for me. I reached out to it, missing by a few inches on my first attempt, but the bottle didn't care. It nudged itself over to meet me. It nuzzled my palm, filling it as I felt its slender curve. I slid my hand up the bottle and pinched the cap between my finger and thumb softly. My mouth was coated in a film of mucus and stomach acid. What I needed was honey. Then the neck of the bottle was back to my lips. The cap was off, the bottle raised up, and I don't remember doing it. All I could think of in that moment was the syrup, my medicine, My special bottle. My eyes were closed again, and all I could hear was the roar. It came from the bottle. The roar. It rumbled deep and low, shaking the lonely window on my wall. I didn't stop drinking. The roar grew louder, the noise seeping between the seam of my mouth from around the drink. I felt the fernet on my tongue, rolling it around as if to savor a fine wine, but only savoring it for the faintest moment before the next gulp came. It was as if every swallow erased the memory of the flavor from my mind, and I had to remind myself all over again. The noise grew louder, the bottle bellowing into my face. I lowered it, gasping in an attempt for air. The bottle was just under halfway full now, or maybe halfway empty. With it finally away from my face, I looked down to see an eye peeking back up at me. Just as fast as I had seen it, the eye rolled backwards to reveal a veiny, bloodshot white before being encased in a jet black sludge. It rose from the neck of the bottle, sloshing and frothy like the ocean, but black as tar and twice as sticky. It latched onto my face and dragged me back down, back to the bottle. It coated my nose, my eyes, my mouth, all of me. I hadn't gotten enough air. I couldn't breathe. It raised the bottle up, tilting the base above the neck and forcing it down my throat. I gagged, the jagged hand in my gut rising to meet the tar, interlocking and filling my airway. I was sure of it now. I was dying. I was killing myself. But the bottle did not leave my lips. The roar still filled my ears, my apartment sounding like a wind tunnel as I choked. I rolled onto my back, feeling the back of my throat full and wet. The base of the bottle stuck straight up, vertically, and I felt something new slide into my mouth. It was as if the evil bottle laid an egg, depositing it, warm and slimy, between my teeth. It touched my uvula, and my body jolted, hand clawing at the air above me and heaving my torso upwards. Through a mighty Herculean effort, I tore the bottle from my face and threw it at the wall. It shattered, the paper label sticking to the glass and gripping it like pieces of broken candy stuck together. The noise ceased immediately, and I bent over onto my hands and knees. With blurred vision, I could see the clawed hand dragging itself out of me, covered in drool and bile. Mucus dripped from my nose. Every intake I tried was blocked by a wet web. It felt like forever I watched the arm drag itself out of me onto the ground underneath. The arm turned into a shoulder, a body, and thick, scaly legs. It looked up at me, its eyes burning a hole into my soul with both hate and fear in equal parts. Tiny, broken wings sat slicked to its back. With the weight in my chest gone, I sucked in breaths of new air. It was putrid. The air in my apartment reeked with cheap vodka and mold. It was the freshest air I had ever breathed. The creature in front of me curled itself up, wrapping its limbs around its body tightly like a dog lying down. Resting on the floor, tucked into the curve of its soft underbelly, was a plastic vial. It had a twist-off cap like a water bottle and a rolled piece of paper inside it. I sat there for a while, locking eyes with my dragon. Slowly, I reached my hands out and touched the vial, picking it up and unscrewing it. Inside was a letter written to me by my father. James, I hope we don't have to read this for many, many years. I love you, son, and I'm proud of you. Your mother feels the same way, and no matter what you do, we will always love you. Never, ever feel like you aren't worthy of being helped. Never tell yourself that you don't deserve to be happy, and never feel like your happiness needs to come from the bottom of a bottle. I hope when you read this, you're in a better place. I hope with all my heart that you may never read this at all. But if you're reading this, and my death still lingers on your mind. I need you to do something for me, James. One last favor for your father. Call your mother. As long as you are able to ask for help, it is never too late to receive it. I love you, James. Goodbye. After I read the letter, I dragged my eyes to the top and read it again. Then once more after that. I read the paper over and over until there were too many tears in my eyes to find meaning in the letters. I squeezed it in my hands, ripping it by accident. Every muscle in my body tensed uncontrollably as I heaved and sobbed on my floor. Somehow, I managed to find my phone, crawling on my hands and knees until I did. I opened it, and for the first time in far, far too long, I called my mother. It was late at night, too late for her to be up, but she only let it ring once before she answered me. "James," she said in a hushed tone. Her breathing sounded rapid and tense, as if my call caused her to hyperventilate. I tried to explain to her what was going on, the bottle, the dragon, the hands, all of it. But I doubt I managed to speak any real words in my jumbled ramble. I collapsed on the floor, coughing and hacking. My fingers, yellowed and thin, held onto the phone like it was the only thing left tethering me to this earth. She stayed on the phone and listened to me, not saying a word, but her warm presence spread out of the phone and into my body. Eventually, after maybe 10 minutes, I heard a knock on my door. It was the police, come to get me the help I needed. My apartment was a 6-hour drive from my parents' house, and later on, my mother would tell me that the only words she could understand from me were, "I'm sorry," and "help me." I repeated, "help me," a lot, almost non-stop. She thought she was listening to me die. And by the hospital's reports, it wasn't far from the truth. My apartment was also a mess. Vomit, empty bottles, and broken glass were everywhere. All the takeout bags and empty beer cans served as a moat around my pile of laundry I used as a chair to watch TV. I had cuts and bruises on my body, and I was dehydrated to all hell. I'm in a better place now. Much better. I'm writing this from rehab on a new laptop my mom brought me. Tomorrow is my 26th birthday, and she stopped by to give me a laptop as an early gift. We're getting through this together. She blamed herself for what happened to me, for not knowing how bad I'd gotten. I, of course, told her it's all my fault. She just smiled and said she was glad I had listened to my father when it mattered most. She was glad to have her son back. We aren't usually allowed to have laptops and phones in rehab, but they made an exception for me. They wanted me to tell my story, to spread it in the hopes that I can reach someone who needs it. Someone who feels alone, trapped in a tower with their own dragon in a bottle. I don't know if you're that person, hearing this, needing help. But if you are, then I hope you find what you need to slay your dragon. I'm rooting for you. Like my father said, as long as you are able to ask for help, it is never too late to receive it.
Thank you for listening and delving with me into the dark together.
Please remember to leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you feel so inclined. The more engagement this video gets, the more YouTube will push my content to others.
Thus, the following will grow.
All stories read in this channel will be available on Spotify, iTunes, and just about everywhere else. Links in the description.
Thank you for listening and feeding the cause. We'll be seeing you